to the Liberty Podcast with Clint Armitage. We are proclaiming liberty one show at a time, and the next one starts right now. What's up, everyone? Clint Armitage with the Liberty Podcast. Welcome back, or at least I should welcome myself back because I'm coming back. You have already been here. You've been waiting for me, so I appreciate it. I appreciate you taking the time to come back and, also giving me the time to take a week off from the podcast because I had so much stuff going on. Something had to give, and so I put a pause on the podcast for a week so that I could take care of some other stuff. And during that time, God spoke to me about the podcast. So that turned out to be a good thing. That turned out to be a God thing. And so I will reveal that today, what he had spoken to me. He had basically told me, he had kind of downloaded and revealed to me some stuff a few weeks ago. And I didn't know exactly what it was for, but then last week, he said when I come back to go ahead and give that information to you. The stuff that he downloaded to me, he wants me to put out to you. So obviously there's someone out there that needs to hear this other than me. Because God's going to speak to you through this. I believe so, because obviously he's telling me to reveal it now. So he obviously is going to speak to someone through this podcast with this message. And just like Isaiah 55 says, God's word never returns void. So he's going to speak to someone today. All right. So thanks for coming back. Thanks for listening. And instead of doing what we were supposed to do, which was we were supposed to power through Matthew chapter 6 because we finished Matthew chapter 5. So today was supposed to be Matthew chapter 6. However, God pivoted and instructed me to do something different. So I'm going to reveal what he had told me a few weeks ago. And this is basically a pattern of 2. It revolves around the number 2. And not just the number 2 itself. It's actually 1 plus 1. It's 2 of the same, right? So 1 plus 1 equals 2. That's the pattern of 2 that we're going to be talking about today. And so it goes like this. After 2 of the same, it is revealed. Also, after 2 of the same, the matter is established. So again, 2 of the same, things are revealed, and 2 of the same, things are established. Okay, the matter is established. So kind of a couple different things there for 2 of the same, 1 plus 1. So we're going to start off in Isaiah 37, verse 30, and hopefully you'll kind of understand what I'm talking about here. But it's not just the number 2 itself. It's 2 things that happen that are exact, that equals 2, because one thing that's exact, and then another thing that happens that's exact. Something's going to be revealed after that, or the matter is going to be established. So these 2 things need to be either exact in meaning or in substance, okay? In meaning or in substance. So we're going to start off again in Isaiah 37. Isaiah 37, verse 30. This will be a sign for you, O Hezekiah. This year you will eat what grows by itself, and the second year what springs from that. But in the 3rd year, sow and reap, plant vineyards, and eat their fruit. Okay? All right. So how does that match up? Well, this is Hezekiah is a king in the southern kingdoms, okay, in Judah. This is when they were split. And so the Assyrians, led by Sennacherib, King Sennacherib, is taking over all the northern kingdoms. And he's taking everybody into captivity. Well, he is now starting to attack the southern kingdoms, and he comes up against Hezekiah. And Hezekiah is defiant. He is not bowing down to Sennacherib. So Sennacherib sieges the city, and Hezekiah cries out to God because the siege is happening. And so he cries out to God for wisdom, for help, for comfort, those things. Well, God gives him that sign, that prophecy right there. This will be a sign for you, O Hezekiah. This year you will eat what grows by itself, and the 2nd year what springs from that. But in the 3rd year, sow and reap, plant vineyards and eat their fruit. Okay, so the 1st year, the siege has begun. That means they're stuck in the city. They cannot do anything. They're holed up. Well, that means they're not planting and they're not harvesting for that full year. So it goes, this year you will eat what grows by itself, meaning they didn't plant, they didn't harvest, so they're eating whatever has grown by itself. That's the 1st year of the siege. 2nd year, the same thing. In the 2nd year, what springs from that? So it's the same thing. The second year, the siege is still going on. And so there's no planting, no harvesting. And they're basically gathering what is growing from that. So it's the same thing that happened in the first year is happening in the second year because it's 2 years of the siege. Well, God comes in and intervenes in the second year. Okay, but it already has one thing has happened, and then the second thing has happened, which is the same. The 2 years of that siege is the 2 years of that sign that God gave. Okay, they're going to eat from the same. Then the third year is different. They're going to sow and reap, plant vineyards, and eat their fruit. Well, after the second year, God provided a way out and it provided escape by taking out the Assyrians, basically. An angel just came in and wiped them out, and so they left. Well, so what happened there is 2 of the same things happened. So after 2, the prophecy or the sign was revealed, and the matter was established. And then they were able to go and harvest and plant and then sow and reap in the third year. But it took, before that happened, before it was revealed, before the matter actually happened, the Israelites had to have 2 years that were the same of no harvesting and no planting and no reaping. So that's that. Well, that's Isaiah chapter 37, verse 30. Well, what's interesting is, 2 Kings chapter 19, verse 29 is the same exact sign prophecy that's mentioned again in the Bible. And it's just 2 different, it's listed 2 different times. That's all. But it's the exact same words and everything. So 2 Kings 19, verse 29. This is how it reads. This will be a sign for you, O Hezekiah. This year you will eat what grows by itself, and the second year what springs from that. But in the third year, sow and reap, plant vineyards and eat their fruit. So it's mentioned twice there. Well, as we're talking about the pattern of 2 here, it's mentioned twice, the same exact thing twice. The matter is established. And so you can see not only the prophecy itself was mentioned twice, but within the prophecy or within the sign, 2 things happened that were the same, the first year and the second year, which revealed the third year, and it confirmed and established the matter. So that's 1. Now I'm going to go on to more just to explain and get a little bit more, more clear, because that may not be all clear, but that's just the start of it. Now we're going to go to Genesis chapter 37, where Joseph reveals his dreams to his brothers, and that he has 2 dreams. He has the first one he reveals to his brothers, and the second one he reveals to his brothers and his parents. Okay? Well, the first one, he dreams that him and his brothers are sheaves of grain, and their sheaves are bowing down to his sheaf, and his sheaf is standing up, the grain. So obviously they don't like that, but that's one dream. Well, the second dream he has is now the sun, the moon, the stars, which represent his mom, his dad, and the brothers, sun, the moon, the stars, are bowing down to him. And so they're 2 different dreams that have the same meaning. Either they're sheaves of grain that are bowing down to him, or their stars, sun, moon, are bowing down to him. So the meaning is the same. These people are bowing to Joseph, which, as you know, as you read through Genesis and you get to the latter portions of Genesis, you find out that even though he goes into slavery and he gets into jail and he comes out of jail, and then all of a sudden he's the second in charge of Egypt. He's the governor of Egypt. The only one that has more power than him is the Pharaoh, because the Pharaoh gave him the power. The reason why he gave him the power is he revealed dreams, not only to a couple of guys that worked for Pharaoh while he was in jail, but he also revealed dreams, the 2 dreams that the Pharaoh had. And the Pharaoh had a couple of dreams as well. And what's interesting about that is, so he revealed these dreams to the baker and the wine taster, the cupbearer for the Pharaoh, because they were in jail because they messed up, and the Pharaoh put them in jail. And then they had dreams, and Joseph revealed these dreams to them. Well, so those dreams came true, and he was still in jail. 2 years later, again, the number 2, the guy that lived, so the cupbearer lived, which Joseph revealed in the dream, and then in their dream, and then the baker died, was hung. The Pharaoh hung him, and which was revealed when Joseph revealed the interpretation of that dream, of his dream. So that happened. The cupbearer gets put back into his place as the cupbearer for the king. Well, 2 years later, Pharaoh has dreams, and this is where things are revealed. This is where Joseph is revealed as the interpreter of dreams. And then, of course, he says it's not him, it's God, which it is. It's God who reveals the dreams. But what's interesting is 2 full years had passed since he revealed the first dreams to the cupbearer. The cupbearer is out, and for 2 years, nothing happens. And Joseph's like, dude, I'm still in jail for 2 years. You're supposed to help me out. Well, cupbearer forgets. And 2 years later, guess what? Joseph is back to reveal dreams again. So 2 years later, the number 2, he's revealing. It's something is getting revealed. Interesting, right? Okay, so now Pharaoh's dreams, these are Pharaoh's dreams. First, he's standing by the Nile, and then out of the river, there's 7 cows. They're fat cows. They're hefty, healthy cows. Then after that, 7 other cows come up. And they're gaunt, they're skinny, they're, bones, they're all bones. And then they're all standing by the riverbank. Then the cows that were skinny and ugly, they actually eat the cows that were fat, okay? And they eat them all up, all 7 cows. So 7 big cows are eaten by 7 gaunt cows or 7 skinny cows or malnourished cows, okay? Well, the Pharaoh falls asleep again. And then he has another dream. Now, 7 heads of grain that are healthy and good growing, in a single stalk. Then after them, 7 other heads of grain sprout. But these other 7 heads are thin and scorched by the east wind. It says in chapter 41 of Genesis. The thin heads of grain then swallows up the 7 healthy, full heads of grain. And then the Pharaoh wakes up. And it had been a dream. And now he's asking, nobody can interpret the dream for him. And then all of a sudden, the cupbearer remembers, oh, there's an Israelite that I was in jail with that interpreted my dreams. He can interpret yours, Pharaoh. And remember, it's 2 years later, and now something else is getting revealed. Now, Pharaoh has 2 dreams as well, right there. So long story short for that part, Joseph gets called. He's in front of Pharaoh, and he says, Pharaoh says, I hear you can interpret dreams. Joseph says, no, it's God, but tell me your dream. So he tells him the dream, and then Joseph says, okay, here's the interpretation of that dream. God's going to interpret. So what he says is that God has shown Pharaoh what's going to happen, what God's about to do. There's going to be 7 years of great abundance that are coming. So 7 years of abundance, a lot of food, a lot of money, all that stuff is going to happen in Egypt. Then he says, after that, there's going to be 7 years of famine, and it's going to be a bad famine. All right. And that's kind of where the fat cows is the abundance, and the skinny cows are the famine that eats the big cows. Same thing with the heads of grain. The healthy heads of grain get basically eaten by the small heads of grain, or the ugly looking ones. And so that's what he's saying. He's saying that is revealing something to him. And he revealed it twice, 2 of the same. And God revealed something. And that was that there's going to be abundance for 7 years and then famine for 7 years. All right. And then this is what Joseph said. And this is where kind of it gets cool. This is what Joseph says. He says in verse 32 of chapter 41, he says this: the reason the dream was given to Pharaoh in 2 forms is that the matter has been firmly decided by God, and God will do it soon. So see, it's established because he was given the dream twice. Same exact meaning, 2 different forms. So 1 + 1. 2 different dreams that have the same meaning. He says the reason why it was given to Pharaoh this way is because it's been firmly decided. It's been established. Okay, and then God will do it soon. So it'll be revealed. And so, so that's that portion of that, which is very cool to know about, because again, it goes along with that pattern of 2. Now, so this applies to dreams, prophecies, all that stuff. Okay, so that's that part of it. Now, let's talk about later on when Joseph's brothers, okay, he's in charge of Egypt. The famine is going on. The famine has been going on for a while. And now his family, Jacob is telling his other sons, hey, we're starving here. We hear there's food in Egypt. Go down to Egypt and get some food. Well, when they get there, Joseph is in charge, obviously, of the food, because the Pharaoh put him in charge after he revealed all his dreams and stuff. And Pharaoh made Joseph the governor of Egypt. Well, his brothers come down now, and they're asking for food, for grain, and they have money and all that stuff. So Joseph recognizes them. They don't recognize him because he looks like an Egyptian, but he recognizes them, and he says, he starts asking questions, specific questions about his dad, and what about a younger brother that they have and all this. So they give him a little bit of information, answers Joseph's questions. But then Joseph says, well, go back. I want you to bring your brother because I think you're lying. You're spies. So he's playing this game with them because he wants to get them to bring his brother Benjamin down, right? So that he can be with his brother Benjamin again. He can see his little brother because Benjamin didn't go down to Egypt because Jacob didn't want anything to happen to him because something already happened to Joseph way back in the day. And you can read what happened there in Genesis there. After chapter 37, it starts revealing all that, what his brothers actually did to him. So he sends him away with some food and all that. And he says, don't come back unless you bring your brother. So they go back to Canaan. They eat all the food. Jacob says, hey, go back down and buy some more food. And they go, sorry, we can't because we need Benjamin to go with us. And you don't want Benjamin to go, so we can't get food. And unless you send Benjamin, we're not going. So Jacob finally agrees. He's hesitant, but he agrees, sends Benjamin with them. And then they go down. And what I'm getting to is that the second time they go to Egypt, okay, they come the first time, Joseph sends them away with food and says, don't come back until you bring your brother. Well, the second time they come back, they have Benjamin, but the second time, number 2, right? The first time they came back, the first time they went down to Egypt, then the second time. So 2 of the same trips down to Egypt. The second time, Joseph's identity is revealed to them, okay? The first time it wasn't revealed. The second time, something was revealed, and that was his identity. So again, God is kind of working a pattern here with 2s, revealing and establishing. And so that's what happened in that. Also, after 2 years of the famine, okay, that's what it happened after 2 years of the famine. So not only is their second time coming down to Egypt, it's also the second year of the famine where his identity is revealed, which is really cool. So these are the things that are really cool that get revealed in the Bible, and God kind of shows us that he has a specific order for things, that he has things that are set in specific ways for us to understand. And even Joseph reveals it when he revealed Pharaoh's dream. And he said, the reason why you got it in 2 forms is because God has firmly decided for it to happen, and then it's going to happen soon. So that's what I believe God wants to reveal to someone listening right now, that there's a pattern of 2 going on, and it's the exact same thing. It may be in different forms, but the meaning is either the same or the substance of the event or the thought or the situation is the same, okay? But the meaning could be the same, but it's 2 forms of the same thing, and it has been firmly decided. So if God has been speaking to you, and he's done it twice in 2 different ways, but the same thing, okay? Then it has been firmly established, firmly decided, and then it can happen soon. After 2 of the same, it is revealed. After 2 of the same, it is established. So God is obviously speaking to somebody out there right now because he instructed me to go ahead and say this and break up my plan, right? My plan of going into Matthew chapter 6. And he said, no, put this out there for people. So if God is speaking to you through this podcast, then it's time to listen. Open up your ears because he's telling you something. He's revealing you something. And he has been touching whoever needs to hear this. He's touching your heart, touching your mind, touching your senses, and saying, listen up, I'm speaking to you. Okay? Well, there you go. God bless you. I know God's speaking to you, and hopefully his plans are established in your life. My name is Clint Armitage with the Liberty Podcast. Thanks for coming by. Until next time, keep staying safe, keep staying motivated, and keep seeking liberty. Joining us for another episode of the Liberty Podcast with Clint Armitage. If you want to get in touch, email us at info@clintarmitage.com.